Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Hey, today I have a really good guest for you who is a spirit medium. She is a healer. She's a psychic. She's a channeler for Isaiah, which is God's love. She is also the leader of a spiritual community, and that's why I have her here today. I give a lot of practical advice about how to heal your trauma and how to proceed with earth-based centered techniques. We have to represent all elements to be truly balanced when we're healing. I deal a lot with earth. You're going to be dealing a ton with water and with air. Let me introduce to you Amaya Victoria, who has been a guest on multiple podcasts, including my good friend Karen Rontowski, so you may have encountered her there. Amaya, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well, given everything that's going on. I'm doing well here, actually. And forgive me if I look down occasionally. I have a 5-month-old kitten who just is absolutely enticed with everything I'm doing and is holding himself back from jumping up on the desk and grabbing things. So,
well, I promise if I see any feline chaos in the background, I'll try and fill in.
Yeah,
Amaya,
okay.
what is your best suggestion for people trying to find a spiritual practice? Because I encourage people who are healing to diversify and to look to more than one source. And we all have different answers and we will resonate with different answers. And sometimes you'll be in someone's collective and then called to somebody else's for the next part of your path. What is your suggestion for people looking for their spiritual path?
Well, there unto itself is the whole issue. Everyone has a different place to be. It's not just one way, as Ram Dass has said, we're just walking each other home. So it's just, isn't that beautiful? I mean, so we've had some wonderful prophets and leaders in at least from my generation back, because I'm close to 70 now. I've been doing this work for 40 some years.
You are a veteran.
I'm one of my clients called me some type of healer. I should have written it down because it really says it, but I'm one of the old guard. You know, we're the ones that came out to till the fields and start calling that the heavens were coming.
You were you hit the ground.
We hit the ground running at 25 years old. And I was also asked to heal myself at the same time simultaneously. So that unto itself was a very delicate subject, because I don't want to say you must do this, you must do that. I can tell you when I see someone, I get information and I know. The best thing about the spiritual path is first the prayer that you want it, that you ask for help.
That's
for me,
that we have to ask for intercession.
We have to ask for help, and the help does come. Just sometimes in the ways we don't expect, sometimes later than we expect. You know, it's given the timing of the whole collective as well as the individual agreement. When I was 25 years old, I read every book I could find, Arthur Ford, Ruth Montgomery, all the old, the way showers, the beginner way showers of these books about walk-ins and psychic ability. And that's sage, by the way, coming across the screen. I figured we'd just light a little sage here.
I saw the clearing smoke in the background, and I was like, she's clearing
stuff. So that was my first, and what I thought when I read all that is I wanted to be like that. That's what I would like to do with my life. I didn't realize at the time I was putting out a request, because I didn't understand. I didn't consciously know that not only and I don't ascribe to the collective that goes, be careful of your thoughts, be careful what you think. I mean, you just drive people. I mean, that's even worse than letting them have what they have.
Yeah, it's just emotional repression.
That's right. You just need to do your emotions. No, it's not healing. You do your emotions and your thoughts change. It's the inside, from the bottom to the top here. Sometimes people can come in through that mental process and heal that and come down. But as you said, all bodies, all ways need their attention here. So to start is, first of all, to ask.
Yes.
And then start watching and listening. Things will show up. They will just show up for you. I said, gee, I would love to. I was 15 years old, so it didn't happen right away. And I'm one of the healers. And the Day of the Wounded Healer, by the way, is finished. So I was one of the wounded healers that came in and became profoundly influential in many ways in the East Coast community and then out on the West Coast. So when I was 15, I asked for help. When I was 25 is when the help began. And that's when I met my first spiritual teacher, Evelyn Isidore. So to begin on we're already really on our spiritual path. To really open it up and start becoming, to be able to dance on it, to be able not to be in your head all the time, to know that you may have trauma, but that trauma in a very illogical way can be healed, dispersed, transmutated. Because we just don't want to transform. We want it brought back to the purity of nothing but pure energy. Keeping the wisdom and the memory that comes from that, and more so the joy that we all innately carry. It's not going to be all the time because life happens. So to begin that spiritual path for me was 15 years old, saying, wow, and reading everything I could get my hands on, meeting my first spiritual teacher through a friend, Evelyn Isidore, at 25, picking up a book of cards, tarot cards around that time, and 3 months in, starting to read them, not knowing why a voice was coming through me, and it felt different, but I had a teacher in my life. So I guess the whole theme of this, because it's been my concern lately, that we have many people out there that are channels, many people out there, and it's not jealousy on my part or anything like that, because I could charge much more than I do, and some of them do. I mean, they charge a tremendous amount of money for the work, but I don't see a lot of the younger ones coming up having had teachers. And maybe I'm old school, but without my teachers, I would not have been able, not so much do my work or serve, but be a good human being along with it.
So here's the resistance to guides and teachers. I hear you on that. Absolutely. Part of it is that I think people are trying to dissemble the false traditionalism and the structures that goes around that spirituality and religion and faith and belief have been misused by power structures, and that there is an innate distrust of power structures that is kind of programmed into us in the here and the now. But there are still people with tremendous intent. And you're talking about the purity of intent, which if you go towards purity of intent, if you try and be the best version of yourself that you can be, it does help to find a community of like-minded people so you can join your energy together in a collective. And if you need guidance, if you are somebody who's trying to walk a path, it makes sense to go to the people here who are essentially your living ancestors, and you're one of the living ancestors.
I'm the living ancestors, and the elders. The call for the elders. We're finished. I'm actually doing a talk, a Plymouth meeting. One day I'm doing a channeling. The next day I'm doing a 20-minute talk calling. It's called "Completing the Ancestral Cycle," because we're finally starting to pinch off the ancestral cycle. It's starting, and those are the beings that are no longer in the physical. The truth is, I'm already gone somewhere. Somewhere I've already passed away. I just haven't caught up with myself yet. But I am a living ancestor. I'm an elder. Once you hit 60, 55 to 60 is when you're initiated. You're starting moving towards the eldership. 60 is the gong goes off. Doesn't mean you suddenly know everything. You're this great elder. It means those are the years now that you begin to, and it has happened for me, look more towards community. Now, I will beg to differ on one thing, and that is truly to forgive the structured religions and the structured organizations and use them well, because
to use the teachings of them.
Yeah, let me just say this, because when it asks for the teacher will come. I'm not here. In fact, it's been almost to my fault that I don't expect followers. But like one of my friends says, but without followers, how can you teach? But what I mean by that is I expect you to fly away. I expect you to take what I've given you, get on my shoulders and go.
Yeah.
And that is a true teacher, but, and it's the same also, and that's what I'm talking about, is that because that's the only way for me, with my teachers, could my ego, could my immaturity be honed. I have an elder now. I'm going to see her next week online. She's 86 or 87 years old, Dina Metzger, and she is an elder. And I go to a 12 of us in this group, 19th Ways, which states there is no enemies. There's no enemy way, really no enemies. And I listen to her. And I'm 67, but she's still my teacher. She still is the elder.
We're always a work in progress. And
right. So to really find your spiritual path here is to ask. That's the first thing. The second thing is is really not just in community, but start talking to others. You're going to be so surprised. You may say, I was thinking about this. And somebody says, there's a crystal shop over there. And I saw this crystal, and all of a sudden you're there. Or you go for a reading and the reader says, as in my case, you're going to meet a woman who's going to help you find this teacher, and then talk about my life, which looked nothing like what I was living at the time. Nothing. Right? So, and then I met Barbara Rose, and we were off and running for years and years and years. To find that path, the first step is to ask. The second step is to relent. Relent.
That I actually really like. And one of the points that you're like kind of honing in on that I think is so important is that to have an authentic experience, approach the world authentically. Have the conversations, be open. Part of our sociological, like our society has taught us that it is more polite to lie than to tell the truth. We'll get together later. We'll do lunch. We have a lot of insincerity programmed into the ways that we approach each other. If you want to have a different experience, strip that away and start being authentic with the people around you. It will quickly become apparent who belongs there and who doesn't. Mm-hmm. And the reason that you want to shed the relationships that no longer serve the path that you're on is it makes the room for the people to come in, for the people who are the guides and the healers and the teachers. And one of the ways that we've been taught to approach age in the society is ridiculous. And it very much has an agenda behind it, where in particular, women are taught that our value becomes less and less as we age. That is part of a patriarchal structure that wants to keep the power for itself. Now, realistically, you know this and you just touched on it, is that the older that you get, the more refined your ability to wield the power, the knowledge, and the wisdom that you have becomes. So that you still have a teacher, you are a teacher, the people that you are teaching will become the teachers. It is part of our living ancestral knowledge that we pass down. It's
called lineage.
Exactly.
And what has happened, what has really unwound us, is we have ceased holding on to the lineage with each other. And we have 5 forms of ancestors: blood, bone, breath, spirit, and heart. And therefore, we're all connected. We can't get away from this. We need community. If we don't have community now, we're really going to be in trouble with what is coming and what is on top of us right now, which is what I channeled years ago. And see, the other thing is, I'm very pragmatic like you, not as pragmatic, but practical. My daughter's way more pragmatic than me. She's like, but what's the solution while I'm over here looking at all this esoteric, illogical stuff?
Gives you balance.
Yeah, right. But, in 1999, I channeled for the Y2K, and 100 and some people came. Everybody so about their computers. And Spirit said, you think your computer's going to crash? And they went like that. They laughed and went like that. They went from 1999 to 2023, and they talked about those years, one year after another. And they said 2021, and particularly 23 would be the years to watch. They said 2016 was the year to watch. I don't have that tape anymore. I know one of my friends does. I need it because I want to transcribe it. But what has stuck with me incredibly verbatim is something they said. They looked at the group, and I did not know. They did not say, by the way, COVID's coming. There's going to be such a spiritual war. You're never going to see the likes of it. Hold on, get your head down. They never said those things to me at that time. They said to the group, looked at the group, and they said, when they're talking about between 20 and 23, they said, the light and the dark shall split. They said that 3 times.
That makes sense.
And they said it during the years of the 80s, 90s, and 2000 to the groups I was in front of channeling. Learn how to farm. Your money, if you don't learn how to handle money, you're going to be heating your home, your fireplaces with them. There's a great time coming. People said, well, how will we live? You'll have to learn how to farm. You'll have to learn right now it's called sustainable. This is what they were talking about, right? Because that's where we're going. So I was there, and they looked at the group and they said, these years, verbatim, you believe your governments will be your demise. Incorrect. It is the earth that shall take over, and your governments will become inconsequential and insignificant. And if you all survive this, or those that survive this, the earth will teach you how to take care of it, each other, and become community. once again.
Actual joining of people. Like I get very similar messages around independence and self-reliance and allowing yourself to be connected as through your primary source is your personal connection, and you find the community and the group to help serve that, to help the belief system, to help it grow. And we are in a time of like we have too much dark energy and not enough light, and things are trying to balance out, and it can get kind of interesting and strange. Hey, listen, one of the things that you said I'd really love to draw attention to, because I do have so many developing psychics and channelers in my particular collective, is when you talk about they told you this and they told you that, which I have aspects of that as well. But one of the roles that teachers and educators and leaders in this particular community serve is helping people hone that gift, because there is false information out there, and you need to be able to differentiate between what is
that's why I said we need the elders and the teachers, because you've got people out there. But and Evelyn said it, every level has its teachers and healers. Every level. So, you have those frequencies and those levels I used to walk at, levels I don't walk at, levels I do walk with, but to really, to hone this is why I talked about teachers and groups, because you have people out there who are not mature in what they're doing. They're not. And they have to mature. Look, I came out, I wasn't mature, and thank God my gifts were strong enough to override those immaturities. All right. For these budding individuals, be patient, trust the process, clean up your life, because you are working with people and they will listen to you. They will take you at face value. And this is not a cartoon. These are these people's lives. So your life, your obligation, your responsibility is to make sure your life is healthy, that you are healthy, that you are within that flow. And therefore, then everything else can open around you. Be careful who you listen to. Check out who's coming towards you. I don't just let anyone at my dinner table in spirit. Only those at life. You do the Ho'oponopono prayer. You do the prayer of light. There's several prayers. In fact, the one I just opened up today, I had brought home with me.
I actually, there's a couple of prayers I say for, I think it's Psalm 91. I say it every day, but I switch the pronouns to I statements.
Excuse me.
Oh, bless
you. Sages making me sneeze. So there's Psalm 21 too, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He leadeth me, you can say that prayer 3 or 4 times a day. Whatever is going to be for you at that time. There's a great prayer here. It's called the Great Invocation. It just happened to be sitting here because out of frustration, my friend just sent it to me in the mail because I kept losing it on my email. I have this tendency to erase things before I look at them. It's called the Great Invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Now they have adapted about here where they took out the word men and they just put in, like I said, from the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. They adapted, they took the word men out. But the bottom line is some form of invocation, some form of prayer, some form of not just protection, because we're all in this together. It's one big fat setup, some way of connecting. Now there are plenty of classes out there to do this with. I know that. I've seen them. I've worked with them. I just did a circle yesterday for 12 women showed up. We did Rising the Selenite, which I do visualization, but we also did ancestral work. Okay. And it started out that I took them outside. I didn't realize there was a medicine wheel there. And I said, let's go look at some beauty. And we stood outside, walked onto this medicine wheel, and we're half an hour late leaving the circle because we spent an hour out there letting the earth do its thing. One of our greatest allies is Gaia, is Pachamama. And we need to start taking care of her. I don't care who's in government. I don't care what's happening. We keep decimating. We're going to be shucked and jived here. We have to be. So one of the most healing spots are there. Now, to help these people, all these men and women who need to take their places, because there'll be a time I'll step away from the human existence, right? Is to really come humbly to it. Come certainly protected, but open. Be patient and don't look for recognition. Like one of my teachers, a young man, I wanted to say to him, "You little twerp." I was like 30 years older than him, but he was right. He said, "I used to be like you. I want to hang out, a shingle and blah, blah, blah." You know what my teachers told me? Is just become a good person and everything else will follow.
And that's surrendering to the flow. Hey, I want to call attention to something you were talking about because it's so important for people to make the distinction. When we talk
Okay.
about saying a prayer from the Christian doctrine, that is not the
Right.
same thing as participating in the Christian religion, but rather
No,
in on the teachings and the intent
that's
of people
right.
who've come before as spiritual teachers. And then
That's
you
right.
talked about working with the medicine wheel, and you talked about working with Gaia as well. You can move through belief systems with good intent, with great respect. You do not need to stay in your lane in this area. There is knowledge for everyone, and realistically, the actual truth is something that is a little bit beyond our understanding in this particular form, so that all belief systems have within them truth, and that all paths to the divine are valid. And if you walk forward with good intent, you can walk through different lands and you can learn the lessons from those different lands. It is not cultural appropriation, it is cultural appreciation. If you approach everything with humility, which is one of the things that you're talking about, allowing your gifts to develop as you are able to develop them. Don't try and force this. That is the easiest way to take a wrong turn, and then you have some energetic rebuilding to do. Amaya,
Yeah.
what is there one single thing that you think people can do to help improve their life and their emotional energy in the here and the now? Like right now, sitting at home, they don't have access to anybody, maybe their funds are limited. What can they do to feel more connected?
Right. Meditate.
Okay.
YouTube, if you don't have a computer, I don't know. YouTube has plenty of things on it.
It
Just
does.
make sure that you keep it, you make sure you, like I put this in, I take the sage. There's plenty of screen protectors so that whatever's coming through YouTube, it's been created out of good intent.
Yes.
People sitting at home who are just know people are praying for you. Know that there is a goodwill going on. See, sometimes it's hard for me to answer these questions because I came in really well developed in this field. I had to learn how to control and contain it. I was one of those children, like the sixth sense. The village would have taken me and initiated me for 20 years. So, and I came out about 20 years after 5 years old when I first realized everything was going on. So for people who really need the beginning, I say, how can I answer that? Because God always is, the great creator always is. It will answer you. It will happen. But then again, you have to open the door.
Exactly.
You
Ask
can't
and
just
take
sit in the
steps.
house. Ask me, knock and the door shall be open. You just can't sit in the house. You know, the thing with
You have to meet
the
things
Christian
halfway.
religion, all the religions, it's all about prayer. Do you know the edict from this Pope that's in now? His edict to all the churches was about going to the one nation people and learning how to take care of the earth.
That's so wise. That's so
It's
wise.
so wise, so wise. So it's time. And also, I have a friend who was Christian, was Catholic, and his walkabout, he went back to the Catholic Church, not dogmatically. He's a gay man, but because he had to finish a forgiveness cycle, he had to let go. You see, the bottom line is, it really doesn't matter. It matters that you're not carrying the unforgiveness about circumstances that really that's where we have to heal.
Yeah,
Now, the
that's
process
magnetic.
here, yeah, well, we can call it that, but it's really suffering. It's things that have really happened. The word harm is the word harmony just cut short. So it's things that have been extremely harmful to us, but now it's time to stop that because what we're doing with it is destroying each other out there. There's no reason to not go ahead and find a way. And the way could be pragmatically, it could be spiritually, it could be with a channel that says one word, you go, whoa, I didn't even think of that. It could be the drumming. It's like I brought my drum back here. Some of the crystals, my place is filled with smoke, it's cracking me up. I have crystals sitting behind me. I normally don't place too many things when we're doing stuff, I have crystals sitting behind me. They all wanted to come. Now, how did I know that? Because just like I know when my plants need to get watered, I listen. I come from a childhood, like many of you all, where it was really, really not functional and really, really, really painful. And I had to spend many years in therapy and many years with healers, but I trusted, even when I didn't trust, I somehow had the willingness to go forward. So you're sitting at home, you don't have really any access, but you do. You have your front door. You do. You have YouTube. You do. You have your prayer. Spirit always is. It is not the Marines hitting the beach. It is all the time, everywhere, anyhow. Find out what you're interested in. I have friends that love herbs. I have one, John, I'm going to visit him in Albuquerque, him and Dawn, and I'm actually a earth person. I used to till in my front lawn when I lived in Northeast Philly and put in a farm every year. But I have friends that they can't talk like I talk, but get their hands in dirt, and I hear language going on all the time for them because they're talking in a different way. We all have different ways to come in the different doors. The path is a multi-lane highway. Even when you're going the opposite direction or pulled over in the emergency lane, you're still on the path, so fear not. How do you find your way? You say, please help me. And then all of a sudden, this woman puts a card down on the table. You go, what is that? You wind up in a reading. You wind up with this teacher. You wind up with this other teacher. If anyone told me I would be in a shamanic household, I would told them crazy years ago. I'm a trained therapist. I told them out of their minds. When I rattle, things happen. You believe in the illogical, the things that you believed as a child that you could taste, you could feel, that you didn't have to see spirit, but you just could feel the magic in the air. Do not be burdened what's going on out there right now. It's of our own doing and a necessity to complete cycles upon cycles. And now we have choices to walk and be the generations. You'll be the generations that will be known that the darkness was put to rest and will not come back that way anymore. You see, to develop into a healer, a channel, is really to have a prayer of deep service and offering for the whole, not just for yourself. Yes, and that can be trying at times, and you have to learn to feed yourself. Don't be like our old guard that did until we have physical issues.
Your energy paid for in other areas as well.
Right.
Some of the background research that I did on this, like I was encountering that you did have to learn that don't deplete yourself in service to others, because all that's going to end up with is a dead battery and nobody gets helped after that.
You can't do it. You can't do it. And I was just talking to a friend about the other day, and I've gone through years. Now, not all of it was because of the service. And please don't get me wrong. You don't hurt me. It's just how I carry it, really, and what I do with it. But some of that was my family history, that the only way out was to take things out because it could not be processed any way out. And that really was my walk, so that I could be balanced between the medical profession and that of a very old way of being, and not have judgment for either one, because there are plenty of doctors that saved my life over the last 18 years.
Oh, no, there's validity to all of that. It's great to
all valid. So to people is that there's so much out there now. Come talk to me. I'll be putting classes up. Talk to forgot your name now. This is what happens when you're 67 years old.
My name is Elaine.
Is that you? Elaine? Talk to me, Elaine. Be human. Laugh about things. Trust the process. God is not punishing you, or whatever you call the great creators. Many names, many faces. And like you so expressed, beyond what we even can describe, there are things that we really don't have enough bandwidth to even know at this given time. But we have children. And by the way, pray for the children. They're our future. And there are children out there who are still suffering in poverty and addictions and whatnot. Not all the children, and they may be crystal children. They may be children from the Galactic Council, and there are many children that are not. But our children are the ones that are going to be to carry this home for us. We're the ones opening those doors for them.
One of the ways that to start connecting to spirituality is something that you touched upon that I just kind of want to shine a little bit of a flashlight on, is first that you ask for the intercession, for the interaction, for the knowledge, and for the help. But the other thing is to take a step forward. And I don't mean a literal one. I mean to open an energetic door. As you said, YouTube, where there are free resources all over YouTube. Hey guys, when you interact with a free resource, take the time to stop, hit that like button or subscribe, because it creates an energy exchange, which when we were talking about you being depleted by what you did because you hadn't learned the correct limits for what you were meant to do for others and what you were meant to do for yourself, try to maintain an energy exchange in everything that you do, and you'll be starting from a really good place. But first you ask and then you open, and come and follow the path where it leads. And sometimes you will only be in a collective for 2 or 3 months. You will learn the lessons that you need to, and you will move on. Consider yourself a lifelong student. And again, humility comes in such a strong way when you understand that no matter what it is you know right now, there is always something more to be known. There is always more truth to this truth. And try to approach everyone you meet as somebody who is a fellow traveler, who may be confused, who may be in pain. If you see behavior in other people that you do not like, try not to judge it. Try to understand that it's coming from a place of their own pain. Have compassion, both for yourself and for others. And that's a great way to start opening to spiritual source, even if you haven't found the structure where you will feel most comfortable. And you,
one of my doctors has over their door, it says, be kind always, because you don't know what another person is going through. So be kind always.
That is always, if you are walking into a difficult situation. Now, every now and then you will be dealing with people who have lost themselves to their darker energy.
Right.
You need to be able
well, that's why we have what's called the sword. You know, when everything was coming down politically, people were saying, we must pray. And I said, yes, let's pray while we're picking up the sword. And they said, what, do you want a war? I said, no, but come on now, keep the sword by your side, because there may be times you have to just, and any good warrior knows that you don't have to use it, you just might have to show it.
Exactly.
Because there are people out there that are now so dogmatically positioned, they can't be trusted with your hearts or the good intent for the world. And they must be held back.
They're deeply invested in whether or not they are personally right about a belief that they have. And the thing we all need to accept is that it is ever evolving, and that it is not, you are not admitting to a fault or a flaw if you say, I was wrong, or you say, I'm sorry. You are admitting to an area that you are trying to expand and improve. There is no sin in being wrong. There truly isn't. I'm wrong at least 5 times a day, but that also means
that's it.
Learn exactly. Hey, I'm improving. It used to be 10. That is the way that you continue to grow, is to accept in your heart and in your mind, as you seek answers, that everything that you believe may begin to change or gain new facets or gain new levels or gain new dimensions.
And I think that another part of this, if I may jump in just for a moment,
absolutely,
is the opening of one's heart. And I know our God is the heart center to 9 to 12 other gods, whatever we call those levels. And there's been the throat and the heart closed about the same time for many of us as children. And to reopen your heart, you may come into a situation with compassion, but you may also need to come in with strength also, or even pushback, because the situation is not, it's dark, it's not good, it's violent, it's war, and you have to make choices about where you war and where you don't. And so to really work, just know you're coming in the door where you want to develop your gifts, or you would like to know more about spirituality. Well, it's not all angel dust and blink, blink, smile, smile. There's the cleansing that must occur. Now, mine took 20 some years. All right.
Purging.
It's not that way anymore. We're moving so fast now. In months, people are moving through things, but hold on, because someone like myself, the ones who've been doing this for years, you come before us and we just touch you and you're off and going, because there's 3 prayers. There's actually a book out there titled this, Help Me, Thank You, Wow. There's a book titled that out there. If any, for the pragmatic people, go to those books, read it. A book will fall off a shelf and land at your feet. It's happened to me so many darn times. I just did a workshop yesterday. A woman sent me, not 20 minutes later, look what came up on my TikTok. And it was all about ancestral work. After we were doing the ancestral work, the universe is conspiring to bring you home. And it will do everything to do that with you. To start, you're already on the spiritual path. You took your first breath. You're still spirit in human form. Spirit calls us human soul kind. We're human, we're souls, and we have a kindness and a way of being that's different than any other kind of experience in this world. Forgive your parents. Do that work. Get that done. They got you here. That was their biggest agreement. They got you here. Okay. Forgive those predators. Forgive the attackers in school. You know, my history could talk to your history. You talk to each other about your histories. Tend to your addictions. That's important. The addictions have flared in this world to the nth degree. Get help. Because it's not your fault. Get help. Get help. Ask for help. Get help. And listen to spirit. And I really, before I would leave today, I would love to do some channeling for you all.
Oh, sure, I'd love that. I'd love that.
But I don't want to interrupt what you have in mind.
Oh, no. The only thing I was about to ask you about is the role of spirit mediumship, because the only form of spirit mediumship I do is a form of spirit guide read where anybody who's trying to release some earthbound karma so they can move on to the next incarnation comes through. And like, I can do other forms of spirit mediumship. I don't, because it is not my focus. But I know, are you able to train people in spirit mediumship? Because people are always asking me about that. And I'm always like, you know what?
For years I said I would not do it because it needs to be natural, it needs to be very organic. But now that you're asking me, I take signal. I watch for signposts and signals. I really do when I walk through my world. And I would be glad to help people with that. I do it all the time. I see dead people. I've done it always. Since I was little, I would tell my mother to get the people out of my room.
Yeah, that's my understanding from watching your interviews was that was how you began to understand you were gifted, was to see people that other people could not.
No, and know things and feel things and dream. I dream and dream. I used to dream a lot about the future. And really the other thing is the channeling, what we call the channeling, which is spiritual mediumship, just different ways you come in that door with it. You know, I can help people with that. I can teach them, but they have to work with me. And it is not a weekend workshop. It cannot be, because it's a sacred process. And the word sacred, holy, and the word respect needs to be brought back in our vocabulary. It really does. And when I talk about teachers, it doesn't mean the gurus and when you throw flowers and they have limousines and they have millions of dollars and everybody's, that's my answer. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't know if I have your whole answer. I just don't know.
You may have a piece of information.
I may have a piece of information. I may be the one to help you. I know people have told me I've saved their lives. I've walked in, done things, and people have stayed with me. I have clients I've never seen. Now that we have Zoom, I can see them. So we did everything over the phone. But, you know, those days were necessary. Every level has been necessary. We're in a stage now that every time period, every era is now spinning out and trying to resolve itself, right from Atlantis, the Dark Ages, all the way up to who are we? What are we going to become? It's like the movie The Crystal, you know, the Crystal by the Muppets. If you've never seen that movie, The Dark Crystal. That's literally what we're doing now. We have split. We have to look at our shadow side, our dark side, and let it meld with who we really are. Most people are so innately good. Don't wait for a building to happen so you go run, save someone. Smile at someone. Open the door. You go first. How are you today? I'm East Coast. I learned these things here. We talk to each other ad nauseum standing in line. You know, it's just, where are you now? And right now, my concern is the world has gotten so hateful and angry, but that's what's been living in us, and it has to come out and be healed at this point. And so I didn't know that I was going to learn about a frame drum and that was going to change my life. I mean, change it. I didn't realize I was a drummer till I started drumming, and I realized I listened to music all the time. I listened for that bottom beat. I'm a dancer. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that I would stand on ice waiting to get into a sweat lodge in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I lived for 5 years. Or I have a teacher that would push back because I wanted all the attention. I didn't know these things, but I prayed to become the best I could be in this world and to really, in that way, do what I came to do.
It's so true. Reach for your highest self and you will like yourself more and more, and you will have a wonderful experience in life because you'll be ever evolving and changing and meeting new aspects of yourself and integrating with your highest self, which is
perfect. It's beautiful. And then there's higher selves with higher selves. And remember, if you go from one community to another without running, it's just evolution. Make friends. Can't hurt to let those communities still be connected.
It's true.
With you.
Now, you had mentioned wishing, was there something you'd like to channel? Or I'm super open to it, whatever you'd like to say.
I would like to see what they have to say
All right.
for us, but I have to turn around for a minute. Forgive me.
No worries.
Do you think I have a large enough piece of selenite?
There we go. You can use that as home defense as well.
Yeah, that's right. I hope it doesn't. I'm going to put it on my computer. If the computer goes off, it's a selenite.
All right.
I'm going to put it on the computer right here. Selenite is a very powerful. It's the heart of the mother, and it gets into our mitochondria. It really does a very big deal for us. It's probably bigger than any of the other crystals we really have in this world. And I'm going to put it this beautiful amethyst tip right here.
Oh, that's gorgeous as well. Amethyst helps with psychic protection. Selenite helps bring in divine energy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the group that I work with, they call themselves Isaiah in the group because they talk about the coming of the God self.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing with them, and some have come and gone from the group. It has morphed and changed over the years. But the primary 5 beings of truth, justice, equality, courage, and faith have stayed. Mm-hmm. And therefore love is part of all of it.
Those are part of the sacred virtues that Jacob and I did a podcast on that as well, naming them, going into them, and how you can achieve them for anybody listening.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, everything connects to everything. You know, folks, we did not talk about any of this before.
No, in fact, I told Amaya going into this, I prefer to go into interviews cold so that we can have an organic conversation.
Right. Okay. So I'm just going to take a moment and see what they have to say. Now, I have to warn you that sometimes they tone, so I'll try to move my chair back so it doesn't blow right through the mics that we're carrying here and onto the podcast, if they decide to do that at the beginning or the end of it.
Luckily, I have mastering, so you can yell and they will smooth it out in mastering.
Okay. Okay. It's like the moon in the sky. The moon does not get enough attention like the sun does, you know, because the sun is your life force, and the central sun behind your sun is the information downloader to the earth plane. Because in that central sun, which is the portal to the 14 galactic council members or parties, those 14 that hold the main galactic together, and then that grows around it, is the place of information, but information in a different way. It is like watching a screen download itself as it's talking. The computer's talking to itself. It downloads in that way. So like the moon, which you every few weeks go ahead and worship, you forget to love all the time. Now, we use the moon in this way because there is no one way to become whole. And that wholeness is because what you're asking here is about a wholeness. And part of that wholeness is to know that you are eternal. It's called spiritual mastership. But the word master then becomes open-ended. Without it being open-ended, you have ego. So spiritual mastership is what you're talking about here, has to have forgiveness of humanity. It is not less or more. Humanity is actually as powerful as soul. Look at it, what humans can live through and even die from. Look at how birth occurs and the tremendous intensity of that. Human beings are the salvation. That they have drank, which is their spirit and souls, are the expression. But what you have here then, besides willingness, what you're asking for is wonderment. You would like to know how others can open to the spiritual end of things. No, you don't have to believe we're real. We could be just a wonderful, intuitive part of the subconscious of this channel. We don't believe so, but that could be true. The word that's missing, the fear of saying this word, because as a child and for your ancestors, when you were in wonderment, it was slapped down. It was made painful. It was taken away. Now it goes to curiosity, mischievousness, and questioning now, not a bad thing, except when it becomes obsessive or blocking the answers, the absorption through the whole system. So you want to know how to awaken spiritually? We give you this word. Come back to wonderment.
That was beautiful.
Come back to wonderment. Feel that. It makes you want to smile and cry at the same time. The sweetness, but bring with it the healedness, so it's safe to be in wonder. Because then the questions become questions that serve, that help, not repetitive things that you cannot, it does no good, it doesn't get done internally. Then the questions not just become, how did the universe awaken? The questions become more like, I am that I am, we are that we are, God is as it is, and how then can that become even more? What is my place in that? And hear us, many will come in through the mental process. Many will come in through the voice. Many come through sound. Many will come through heart, roots, through emotion, through energy. It matters not which door. It matters that you just walk and tears be healed. Let the anger ones become only one thing, and that is at times fierce truth. With wonderment, you want to know, you ask the question about what people can do to really set this off. Tell the truth.
That's true.
Put your secrets out for others to help you wash clean. Be discerning, be wise, and most of all, come back to being the sweet beings that you are, with a fierce love for life and the absolute determination and will to be self in ways that will only be shown to you as you age and live your life. The last thing we will say is turn and look behind you, not so much at your past, but at the children that are waiting to come forth. Weep for them. Pray for them. And then ask, if you cannot do it, for others' hands to reach out and save their lives. To be revolutionary here, your governmental systems will have to destroy themselves and be changed so it becomes a collective. You will have to have structure and laws, because some egos just don't know how to listen, but more in counsel, more in consideration of what is right and true, so no one goes hungry in your human form, no one stays ill unreasonably in your human form, and no one is left alone in the dark, in isolation. In any culture that knows that spirit is with amongst themselves and weaves itself through, no one is allowed to isolate and be in darkness in that way. We are not alone. You are not alone. May the wondrousness break through like light streams, sunlight, light beams, and sunbeams for what is going on now. And may you be willing to ask to be of wondrousness again, and all else can be falling away, and you will know you are not the only one.
That's great. Honest to goodness, the idea that everything starts with belief, everything starts with wonder for all that is possible. When you believe more is possible, it becomes possible. Amaya Victoria, that has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find what you do?
You may go to amayacenter.com. It has my email address there and my phone number. I am on Facebook, Amaya Center. I am on Twitter, Amaya Victoria. I am on, what is the other one that's a big deal now?
TikTok,
Not TikTok.
Instagram.
Instagram. Yes, it's Amaya Center on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok as of yet,
Okay.
but that's coming. So you can go there, sign up on my email list. I'm going to have a whole slew of new classes and whatnot once I come back from the Southwest.
Okay.
So thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And God bless you all. I do hope I've helped to some degree.
All right, that was amazing. That was wonderful. Amaya Victoria, she is a teacher, she is a healer, she is a mentor, and she is a guide. Look for her on all those platforms. And I'm Elaine. You can find me at therisingmoon.com, or you can find me on YouTube at cronecast at the Rising Moon, where I do daily reads. And I also do occasional predictive reads with pick-a-guards that you'll be able to find as well. It was wonderful to speak with you. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for giving us your guidance. Take care and be well, everyone.